This stupid thing. Yeah, there we go. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Yeah, let's do it. My face is on fire with the light of my laptop. Aw, yeah. All right. We got a lot to talk about tonight. And by a lot, I mean really not a whole lot to talk about. I guess, yeah, Ray Lankford. See, isn't that thing beautiful? We talked about this a little bit last time. I'll position it so you see more of Ray than my stupid head. But for real, this is actually came off of his back. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. I can't tell you how much I love it. It's my favorite piece of Cardinals memorabilia that you could ever have, and it's wonderful. Looks like C70 joined. Lankford is the absolute shit. He is like shit made of gold. Yeah, so for those of you who aren't familiar with the way we do a Periscope around here, we drink, we talk about baseball, we say outlandish things, and we have a ton of fun. Tonight, our drink of choice is the Lagunita's Sakitumi. It is a beer made with, an ale made with sake yeast and rice. That's right, this is indeed the Bud Norris edition of Prospects After Dark. Bud Norris is a really interesting player. I don't know exactly if he was one of the 3 bullpen arms that I was clamoring for the last 4 months or whatever, but it's Bud Chuck. Hashtag Bud Chuck is going to be a thing. Yeah, Nightwing. By the way, there you go. I'm a big comic book nerd fan, and Nightwing is my favorite comic book character. I read it every, twice a month when it comes out. I really am just a total bro. I can't say it enough. Which one of your top 30s do you expect to move up a level first, and when do you think it will happen? Jesus, C70, our boy, Daniel Shoptaw, coming out firing. Who's going to move up first? Well, how about we stick with the 8 names that we've given you already? Let's just start there. So, I think your best bet is either Andy Young or Stefan Trosclair. I think you'll see one of those 2 gentlemen probably start at Palm Beach, and one of those 2 guys will get the promotion to Springfield relatively soon. There'll be a lot of flux. Someone just said something about Fangraphs comparing Greg Holland to Bud Norris. It was a good article idea, and the stats were pretty interesting. I don't know if they were as dead on as you might have hoped, but it was a fun little statistical analysis to make, and I'm kind of glad they did. I think the important thing to take from that Fangraphs article is, obviously, Bud Norris is not on the same level of Greg Holland. That's not a thing. Memphis outfield in April. I got to write this stuff down. Hold on. They're not on the same level, Norris and Holland, but for the price that they ended up paying for Bud Norris, it's a really easy shot in the dark to take that adds bullpen depth. Who is the Memphis outfield come April, at the start of the season? I believe their season starts April 5th or April 7th, about a week after the Cardinals season starts. Tyler O'Neill will be in left, Oscar Mercado will be in center, and Jose Adolis Garcia will be in right. Is Mike Myers' amazing Cardinal career over? I think that's an interesting question, because for me, and I think we all can admit that Mike Myers has been a terrible, terrible Cardinal. He got off to one of the worst starts of his career ever. Maybe of any Cardinal pitcher that I can think of. And man, there's been some bad ones in there. I would still designate Rowan Wick. I would outright Rowan Wick off of the roster before I would Mike Myers. I can't help but think that the Cardinals are going to give Mike Myers every opportunity to get a job. So the write-up for Johan was actually by my good friend Colin Gardner. Somebody just said, great write-up on Johan Oviedo. Colin, for the Redbird Daily, who helped me with the list, who is half of our list, that's his guy. That's my guy, but that was his write-up. He did an amazing job. He hit on some great points. My write-up for Johan will be tomorrow. Can you shout out my friend Nick Gers? Yeah, Nick, what's up, Nick? Welcome to our little bullshit session here. Ask a question. Oh, hey, oh, God. You know what? That's not a thing. Oops. Anyways, moving on. Let's see. So that's my thought about the outfield in Memphis. They have two. Got him. I got him bad. God, that's embarrassing. I'm just gonna drink more. That's the only way out of this is to drink more. The Cardinals have a couple really interesting outfielders that have been around for 100 years. Jordan Schaefer, who I'm done talking about. Out of all the money they spent in international this year, who are the notable guys? You know, I'm not going to lie to you. They have a couple guys, but I don't even want to get into the international prospects from the 2017 period, 2017-2018 period. They couldn't spend more than $300,000 on any of them. If anything, if you want to talk about their international money that they spent this period, they did a better job trading international money to acquire players who were in other people's system. Lane Thomas from Toronto, they traded international money to get Lane Thomas. He's a center fielder who's kind of interesting, like Charlie Tilson light, with a high upside. They traded for a shortstop named Imeldo Diaz, who's really interesting. Luis Robert. I don't even want to talk about Luis Robert. It hurts my heart. And believe it or not, that was technically a part of the 2016 international signing period. And it just goes to show you how fast these things move. Somebody had to bring up Robert. It's going to happen more than once, and I'll be honest with you, I'll talk about him nonstop. If we want to turn this thing into a White Sox podcast or whatever the hell this thing is, a White Sox Q&A, I'll gladly talk about Luis Robert for forever. But the Cardinals used a lot of their international money because they could only spend $300,000 at max per prospect. Per signee. And again, Lane Thomas, like I said, and Imeldo Diaz is another really interesting guy who hit for a high average and with a little bit of power at Johnson City, got promoted to State College, didn't do great, but that's worth bringing up. Rob Comiskey, what a guy. You know, poor Rob, he really did, and he probably still does. I'm not going to tell you, I hate to tell you that I haven't been paying attention to Rob Comiskey, but his curveball was good. He was small. His velocity looked like it was going to tick up from the low 90s, and it just never happened. And then he had to deal with some injury issues, and that's kind of a bummer. But it goes to show you that sometimes we overvalue prospects, right? Because when Rob Comiskey was traded for Brandon Moss, we all kind of freaked out a little bit. We thought, man, that's a high upside left-handed starting pitcher that you're trading for a guy who was really struggling coming off an injury. And while Brandon Moss wasn't great as a Cardinal, he was also one of the most dominant Cardinals for an entire month, maybe one of the most dominant players in baseball for an entire month. And Rob Comiskey still hasn't touched the major leagues and probably never will. It is such a tricky, slippery slope when you start talking about prospects and breaking down prospects. But it just goes to show you that sometimes we overvalue them. Is Max Schrock the future Greg Garcia? Who was Kyle Barraclough traded for? Kyle Barraclough was traded for Steve Cishek. Is Max Schrock the next Greg Garcia? No. I think if all things go, are you worried about the shortstop depth? I'll get to that in a second. Shortstop depth. Don't say shortstop death. Not with the way the prospects work in the Cardinal system. I'm going to write a little note for shortstop depth with Max Schrock. So he's not Greg Garcia because he's a better hitter. He makes more contact. He's got a little bit more power, not a lot. The other thing is he can't play multiple positions as well as Greg Garcia can, and that really separates the two as well. They're kind of their own different bag of player. I think if all goes wrong with Max Schrock, you're talking about someone who's Breivik Valera light. To ask you when the next scope was. Boom, Forever Cards, we're on it right now. The Two Thumbs guy, I forgot to tweet at him and give him time. Man, I hate myself for that. What do you think about Valera versus Garcia? Again, I don't feel comfortable with Breivik Valera playing anywhere other than maybe left field and second base. And I'd like Greg Garcia as a temporary patch at short if he had to. I hate saying that. I'd rather have Yairo Munoz get that time. So yeah, I don't really have a feeling. I like Breivik's contact tool, but he doesn't bring much else. He's a solid second baseman, but there isn't. Ooh, I want you to be my left fielder, my center fielder, my right fielder. Someone commented a second ago, watching Alex Reis throw at 50% today off of a mound at spring training to Carson Kelly was an absolute beautiful thing. That is a total win today. Think about where we were with Alex Reis 1 year ago. Just 1 year ago. 1 year ago on Valentine's Day, his season was over. And here we are, 2 days before Valentine's Day, and our boy is pitching. And what an amazing thing it was to see. Oh, man. Are we worried about the shortstop depth? I'm going to stop saying shortstop depth. And if one of them dies, I'm not taking responsibility for it. Am I worried about the shortstop depth in the minor leagues? I'm worried about having a regular at the major leagues ready in the minors. And what I mean by that is I don't feel comfortable with any of the guys taking over for Paul DeYoung if he was to miss 4 months of the season. I would hope that they would go to Yairo Munoz at that point to relieve, and I think he'd be able to do just fine. Kyle the prospect killer. Man, that one's going to stick, Daniel. That's bad news. We can't have that one going around. Daniel C70 calling me the prospect killer. Sorry, I'm also going to try to repeat the questions because we'd like to turn this into something that people can watch or listen to later, and we would like for them to at least know what the hell's going on. Delvin Perez is probably the most important prospect in the Cardinals organization this year. He needs to take a tremendous step forward. It could happen this year, it could happen next year, but it needs to happen soon. So with DeYoung and then Yairo Munoz, which I'm okay with, and then at AA, you'll have Tommy Edman and Edmundo Sosa. Now, I don't think Yairo Munoz, Edmundo Sosa, and Tommy Edman all have a chance to be above average starters at the major leagues. I think that they could be super subs. I think that's their role. But I think in a pinch that, especially Yairo Munoz, could really, really do the job. I saw Brady Whalen compared to Carlos Santana, but his numbers are bad. Brady Whalen's numbers are a little misleading. Now, again, with a player that young, what I like to do is I like to compare them from year to year. I am a huge Brady Whalen fan. When Colin and I started doing our top 30 prospects, we both ranked our top 40 prospects and combined our list to create our top 30. Brady Whalen is my number 35 prospect. Look at the progress that he made from being drafted in 2016 to what he did in 2017. His power went up. His slug went up. His walks went up. He's striking out, like his strikeout to walk is 1-1. He's not striking out at a super high level. He's a terrible third baseman. That's a concern. He needs to get better at playing third. He can always go to first if he's going to hit for that kind of power. But I like the Carlos Santana comp right now. Again, dig a little bit into his stats because Brady Whalen's a guy who's going to be in our top 30 by the mid part of the season. And maybe by the end of the season is probably a better way to do it. If DeYoung goes down, I bet they move Jerko to shortstop. So if DeYoung goes down, what will happen is Greg Garcia and Jed Jerko will split time at shortstop. They'll call up Breivik Valera. They'll try to get cute. Carpenter will spend more time at third. But with Yairo Munoz on the 40-man, that changes exactly what the Cardinals will do. They'll be a little bit more aggressive with Munoz because he's already on the 40-man. I think if there's a long, extended absence and Munoz is hitting well at AAA, they'll go to him. They'll give him a chance, especially if they're struggling. I would imagine that they're going to try to make Munoz a full-time third baseman. Who has more success in St. Louis this season? Flaherty or Weaver? Well, I'm going to take the coward's way out on this one. I'll say Luke Weaver because he's already ticketed for a spot in the rotation. And ideally, if one of the starting pitchers in the rotation falls apart or gets hurt or pitches like a 37-year-old who's been on the downturn for 3 years, I want Alex Reis to take that spot over Jack Flaherty. So I'll say if I'm putting a percentage chance on it, Luke Weaver has a better chance. Although I can't stress enough that Jack Flaherty is an absolutely special talent, and I can't wait for him to get a chance to play at the major league level. Oh, hey, Victor Garcia. Now, I have to squint to see everyone's name. But I see Victor Garcia on here, and I know that that's from Graham. I know it probably says XXX, new boy, XXX or whatever. Graham, take a break. Victor Garcia is I think he's 18, an 18-year-old potential power hitter who hasn't hit for power yet in the Dominican. So when he starts hitting for a little power, we'll bring him back in. Who is the next Bo Hart? A guy who could come up, have a great 6 weeks, and is never heard of again. You know, I think that could be Breivik Valera. You know, their game's pretty similar. I would imagine if Breivik Valera has any success at all, it's fleeting. It won't stick around. From a minor league level, a guy's name that you might not have heard of, yeah, Edmundo Sosa is kind of a cop-out. I think Tommy Edmonds more on the Joe McEwing side of things than he is on the Bo Hart side of things. Who could tear it up? You know, yeah, I'm gonna stick with Valera. I think he's the best chance. Oh man, can you imagine? In 5 years, we could be talking about Terry Fuller, and right now we shouldn't be doing it. For those of you who don't know who Terry Fuller is, somebody just made a joke about Terry Fuller being a guy who could, for this year, make a big 6-week impact. Terry Fuller is that hard-hitting outfielder who was crushing home runs nearly out of Marlins Stadium. 15th round pick, started in the Gulf Coast League, got off to a really good start, flashed his athleticism, even though he's a big-bodied kid who's actually lost weight and gotten more athletic. I saw a couple pictures of him down at spring training already. But again, the tools aren't there. He played in a cold weather state. He needs to start playing up to the level of talent that he's going to be. Yeah, in 5 years, you're right, Graham. We could very well be talking about Victor Garcia. We could be talking about him in 2 years. Who would you trade Josh Donaldson for? Should Cards get traded? The Hayward thing. Who should the Cardinals trade to acquire Josh Donaldson? Well, I think it's safe to say that Josh Donaldson isn't going to be traded this offseason. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, trust me. I watch a ton of Terry Fuller video. Somebody just asked me to watch Terry Fuller video. It does sound like and somebody just said Terry Fuller sounds like a football name. It does sound like a football name because it is a football name. The kid was recruited by all of the SEC schools to play defensive lineman or linebacker, and I'll turn down scholarships to go to at least Auburn and I think Alabama to hit home runs in the Cardinals minor league system. It's all there, but remember, any of the time, Josh Donaldson versus John Heyman was incredible. Any of the time that you see these kids taking batting practice and seeing them launch home runs, it doesn't really matter because that's off of batting practice situations. He has a chance, just like Victor Garcia, the two of them have a chance to be monsters, to be high quality, high dollar prospects. And, they're really exciting people. Hold on, I got a drink. So there's that. Has Lance Lynn re-signed yet? No, he hasn't. And as a matter of fact, I do think the Cardinals rotation could use an upgrade, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they're set with the 5 starters that they have. I'm not saying that I'm set or it's the way that I would go, but I will say that I don't think that they're going to make another move. What does Flaherty need to work on in the minors? You know, I'll be honest, the one thing that really surprised me about Jack Flaherty is he seemed to get frustrated at the major league level. And he was so successful at the minor leagues that, I think going up against advanced bats in the major leagues, it frustrated him that they weren't chasing his slider on the outside, that they weren't, chasing his curve or his changeup, that his fastball, even though it was great, was getting fouled off. And I want to see him work on his composure a little bit. Consistency with these pitches, they're going to be a big thing, without a doubt. But for me, it's just a little refining, a little tweaking, and he'll be fine. Yeah, exactly. He fell behind a lot because a lot of the times, will Mike Myers be in the rotation this year? Can you imagine? If Mike Myers is in the rotation, that means everything's gone wrong. Getting back to the point about Flaherty falling behind in counts, you're 100% correct. It was something that he didn't do it all this year, and he did it at the major league levels. He needs to work on that. 40-man corresponding move for Norris. Is it Mayers or Wick? DFA. For me, it's Wick. I'm not a Mike Mayers guy. I'm worried about him, but he has more tools than Rowan Wick, and I'm just not a Rowan Wick guy. Maybe Rowan Wick puts it all together, and he has a breakout year this year like Sam Tuivailala had, 3 years ago, but I just don't see it with Rowan Wick. And plus, I think Wick has a better chance of clearing through waivers. Cardinals really had a chance to significantly close the gap with the Cubs, and DeWitt didn't. I can't argue that. I will say that I'm bullish on the Cardinals minor league system, hence the prospect guy, or the prospect murderer, as C70 is now calling me. I'm not as worried about the starting rotation as everyone else is. I don't think it's going to be great. The big thing with the starting rotation is how quick the Cardinals organization is willing to pull the plug on Waino if Waino hits a brick wall, which is what I would anticipate. But they have relief options for that. Now, I'm still not sold on the bullpen. Since the beginning of the offseason, I've been saying the Cardinals needed 3 pen arms. They got 3 pen arms, but 2 of the guys are 2 guys that I would not have particularly liked, Bud Norris and Luke Gregerson. I like the Dominic Leone trade. That's a great trade, especially with Connor Green coming back. I'm just not sold on Norris and Gregerson, so the bullpen's a little bit of a question. But, dude, the Cubs farm is only bad because of talent's in the majors. Yeah, you know, that line, and that mocking line goes to show you how much more complicated all of this is. That's an easy slogan. It's like a political slogan in a political campaign. Like, you know what I'm getting at. You know what I mean. It doesn't tell the story. It doesn't even begin to break down the complexities of a situation. It's more to it than that. I would just like to say that Mike Moustakas is not an upgrade over Jed Jerko. I would like to say that I'm glad that I got to say that out loud because no one knows, everyone knows that it's coming out of my mouth, and I completely agree with it. By the time the Cubs are bad, their farm system is going to be loaded again. There's a very good chance, but it all comes back to the delicate process of drafting and developing, which isn't easy. Who's better in 5 years, Cubs or Cards? Push. They're both an 85-win team. Jed Jerko is an upgrade over Greg Garcia. Jed Jerko is an upgrade over Greg Garcia. I might be an upgrade over Greg Garcia. No, you know, Greg Garcia can hit 440-foot home runs in Coors. So maybe there's something more to that. Maybe he needs to go to the Jose Martinez school of bomb hitting, and maybe he breaks out. I don't know. I definitely would like them to have a major league caliber backup shortstop ready to go for this season. More likely, Bud Norris pitching at Busch like Jesus, El Savior, Jesus, or will he hurt us like he did in 2010? Neither. I think it's pretty clear cut. It's just going to be an okay thing. Last year, out of the bullpen, he had a 4.7 ERA. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think it'll be, how often do you play Jose Martinez? Oh, man, I don't even know. The question is, how often do you play Jose Martinez? If he's hitting, you play him as often as you can. If he's not hitting, then you take a step back. The Cardinals have a roster that you very much need to let play out. And hopefully they're riding the hot hands, because if they don't, then we're screwed. Norris, first half was good, correct? He did. He had a very good first half and then dealt with a little injury and had a really terrible second half. 19 saves, 2-something ERA, strikeout per 9. Do you think we will see Gomber in St. Louis this year? I'm hoping so. I love Austin Gomber. I can't say it enough. I know Benjamin Hockman wrote an article today about Austin Gomber that I have been unable to read. I can't wait to get to it later. I'll say this. I don't like criticizing other people for writing about prospects because it's the most difficult thing to write about. I can't stress that enough. What I will tell you is I read an article from a different outlet earlier in the week that was forwarded to me by my brother because he was trying to allude to the fact that it was a joke article written by somebody who didn't know what was going on. Sorry to this writer. Who just got everything about Austin Gomber wrong. Who didn't know anything about Austin Gomber. He called all of his stuff average. Austin Gomber has an above-average curveball. It's nice to see Hockman write about it because people will read it and get to know Austin Gomber. Austin Gomber's, he's not Major League ready yet. He's close to Major League ready, and I do hope we get a chance to see him pitching in Busch in 2018. Because I'll tell you what, if Austin Gomber gets a chance to make a start, and again, there's a lot of pitchers in between Austin Gomber and the Major League level. But if Austin Gomber gets to make a start at Busch Stadium, I'm walking my happy ass down there. Was this Keith Law? Yeah, don't listen to Keith Law. Again, I hate to be critical, but I will say this about Keith Law. This countdown, the last one that he did, Keith Law did, that's the best one he's ever done for the Cardinals. It's the most accurate one he's ever done, and he still got a ton of shit wrong. He should have been at AAA. He should have been at AAA. I completely agree. I don't know Zach Hempel. Isn't Zach Hempel that douchebag who tries to catch a bunch of foul balls and get them signed by players, and players hate him. Am I wrong about that? That's Zach Hempel, right? Whatever that fucking guy's name is. By the way, we curse in here. We call it Prospects After Dark because it's a total shit show. Yeah, fuck that Zach Hempel. Or F that Zach Hempel. I don't know your delicate sensibilities out there. Oh, God, Zach Hempel blocked me after he got robbed by Aaron Judge. That's great. Good for you, man. Good for you. I like it. Holy shit, keep bringing it on, man. Keep bringing it on. I like it. If we can for a second, we'll talk about the top 30 prospect countdown. Colin published his for number 22, Johan Oviedo. But our prospect countdown's been going great. I hope everyone... Oh, what beer is it? It is a Lagunitas Sakitumi. Not Sakitumi. Oh, I guess it would be Sakitumi. I'm dumb. Sakitumi. It's made with sake yeast, and it's 9% alcohol. And then here, in the bourbon glass, we have just a small little taste, a little finger. Would you ever live at the new Ballpark Village apartment condo? I'm actually going to get into that. I thought about writing an article about that. Anyways, this is Booker's Bourbon Unfiltered Uncut. It's $80 a bottle, and it'll last you a week if you're a hard alcoholic like I am. And it's worth every cent of it. It's incredible. What is the role of sheriff? I'll get to the Ballpark Village thing here in a second. I'm going to put BPV here. The role of Ryan Sheriff right now is he's in AAA to start the year. They're probably going to go with 13 arms, which means 12 hitters, and the extended bullpen. And with the signing of Bud Norris, that means that Ryan Sheriff starts at AAA unless someone gets hurt. Let's see. This offseason and past seasons has taught me to lower my expectations tenfold. For me, it wasn't last year. Last year they had a good offseason. It was the Luis Robert thing that started lowering my expectations. That really changed it. I was happy when they didn't sign Hayward. I was happy that David Price didn't take that contract. Those would have been disasters. They look like disasters to me at the moment. So I was happy with those. I thought the Dexter Fowler signing was too much money, but I liked that they signed him because of the type of player he was and what I thought he would do for the St. Louis community. And so far, he hasn't disappointed, even with the injuries. This year is definitely a disappointment. They needed to really upgrade that bullpen, and it's questionable if they did. When they re-signed Matheny, I knew we were fucked. That could be a thing. We're going to find out this year. He's going to have a shorter leash. Who's the 7 bullpen guys that start the season next year? If Waino hits well, is there value having him in the pen? I think there's value to having him in the pen, but the problem is, from an organizational standpoint, say Waino moves to the pen, they're going to try to have him close out games if they don't have an established closer at that point. And I don't want that either. That's bad news. What I believe to be 8 players in the bullpen to start the season, you're talking about the patron pitcher, Tyler Lyons, Gregerson, Brebbia, Bud Norris, Brett Cecil. How many is that? 5. Sam Tuivailala. That's 6. Who am I forgetting? Jesus, I'm so stupid. Oh, Leon, 7. And someone. I've done this so many times. Oh, Bowman. Matt Bowman would be 8. My bad. So you're 8 arms coming out of the bullpen. And again, this will change because more than likely the Cardinals will go with 13 position players until their schedule gets tight later on. Because, those first 2 weeks, they've got like 19 days off. It doesn't even make sense. Bowman, there you go. But when the dust settles from the beginning of the season, you're talking about a bullpen of Tyler Lyons, Luke Gregerson, John Brebbia, Bud Norris, Brett Cecil, Sam Tuivailala, Dominic Leone, and Matt Bowman. Doesn't inspire incredible confidence, to be honest. No, that bullpen does not inspire confidence. Now, if they would have been able to build a bullpen around Tyler Lyons, Luke Gregerson, Brett Cecil, Sam Tuivailala, and now Bud Norris, got Holland or something in there, it would have been interesting. Who does Reis replace in May? Hopefully Adam Wainwright. Another good question about Reis that I would have liked to have answered, but I didn't get to see it. I'm going to take a step back, and I want to talk about Ballpark Village. They just announced, hold on. I love the philosophy of how they built this pen. Just minus Norris Gregerson. For Reed Morrow, I completely agree with that. Forever Cards, stepping back to your other question about Ballpark Village. I love St. Louis. I love the city of St. Louis. I've lived in the city of St. Louis almost my entire life. I would never move out of the city to move in the county, and I work in Deep West County. I work for the county. I love my job too. But I don't know if I'd move down there because, and I know Cards, what would you give Baltimore for Britain? Oh, man. I'm going to write down Britain. Hold on. Let me tell you why I wouldn't move down there. I saw Cards talking about a reasonably priced one-bedroom, and I think they're $1,400. For a normal city, $1,400 living in a place like that in that location would be fantastic. But for someone like me, who I don't really get out very much, I have a job sometimes, especially in the winter times, I have to work 12-hour days. I can get called in at any time. The full-time job kind of impedes my ability to move down there and enjoy it. It's not something that I would ever do. I dated a girl who lived in the city for a while, lived in like the heart of the city, lived downtown rather for a while. I liked it down there, but for me personally, I live in a little neighborhood in St. Louis called the Central West End. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in the West End, and I love it here. And that's probably the only reason why I wouldn't move, but I'd think about it. What would you give TB for Chris Archer? It would have to be Flaherty and Kelly to start. Or Weaver and Kelly, which is who I would prefer to give up, but I think they would ask for Flaherty and Kelly. And then they'd probably want another pitcher. They'd probably want Jordan Hicks. And then they'd probably want Jose Adolis Garcia. They'd probably want Tyler O'Neill, but they'd have to settle on Jose Adolis Garcia. So, Flaherty, Hicks, Garcia, and maybe Bader. That's probably what you would... Oh, and Kelly, more than likely, in there somewhere. That's probably what you would have to give up. So, I'm going to start over. What would I give up for Chris Archer? I'd give up Luke Weaver. I'd try to push Luke Weaver. I would trade Carson Kelly, and I would probably try to trade Harrison Bader. And I would hope that would be enough. It won't be, which means you'd have to dip down into the lower levels in the minor leagues, and then you're talking about Johan Oviedo, Alvaro Sejas, rather, something like that. That's what it would take. What would I give up to acquire Zach Britton? Yeah, that's a question. Carson Kelly over under 40 games. I posted that on Twitter, and over 70% of the people said under. I'm going to take the under. Zach Britton. Sorry, I apologize that I keep putting that off. Now, what would I give up for Zach Britton? I worry about coming back from the Achilles, right? Ryan Howard couldn't do it. Adam Wainwright hasn't done it. And, that's a concern for me. I wouldn't give up a ton. I would definitely be a little bit more cautious, whereas just a little while ago, I would have probably gone all out. I think Carson Kelly has more value to us as the centerpiece of the Archer deal than Yadi's backup. If there was a chance that he was going to start in 50 games, I would disagree with that. But he's not going to start 50 games, so I do agree with that. I think he has more value in a trade than as a backup, wasting away. What's the starters market for the next year with Waino, blah, blah, blah. Do you think Gomber, son of a bitch. Somebody put up that question about Gomber again. I think Matheny feels bad for moving Fowler out of center field. No, I don't. I don't think that that's what it is. I don't even think he had a say in it. If Kelly is traded, what kind of catching depth is left? They have a decent amount of catching depth. Andrew Kisner is the first one that comes to mind, and Andrew Kisner is a legit prospect. After that, they've got Brian O'Keefe, who's kind of an interesting guy. They've got Jeremy Martinez out of USC, who's kind of an interesting guy. They've got Dennis Ortega, who's kind of an interesting guy. They have a couple really interesting people. Do you think O'Neill, Gomber, and Jose Martinez for Colome is fair? It doesn't matter if it's fair or not. It's not going to get it done. They're not going to take Jose Martinez unless they you throw something else in there. Jose Martinez, he definitely produces. He's definitely cheap. But they want more than that for Chris Archer because of how affordable he is for his production input. Either Kisner or Kelly will have to be traded at some point, most likely. I agree with every word of that sentence. The most likely part in particular. Most likely, you're right. But, I mean, if there's one thing that we've seen in the past, it's that situations, they definitely sort themselves out, and things can get kind of weird. You know, I'm all about trading these guys if it's the right deal, not because you think you have too much depth. If there's one thing we've learned is that you can never have too much depth. What is Matheny's appeal to Fowler in leading off over Carpenter? Do you think O'Neal, Gomber, and Jose Martinez? Matheny's appeal for Fowler leading off. Well, you know, I think ideally, if you just look at their skill set, Dexter Fowler is a player with skills that are better suited for leadoff. You know, if you're just talking about speed alone and the ability to run the bases, you know, Matt Carpenter runs into outs. You can't have that at the top of the order. So I think it makes sense, even though there's stats that may or may not support Chris Carpenter as a viable option outside of the leadoff spot. I think he'd be fine hitting third. But if you just look at it from a practical standpoint, what's more important, having a guy with a little bit of speed and a little bit of pop and who doesn't run into outs and can go first to third at the top of a lineup, or a guy who can't? So to me, that's why it makes more sense to have Fowler leading off over Carpenter. I think Kisner isn't terribly far off from Kelly, but Kelly's value is insane. I think that you're right about their values not being far off. I think this time last year, Carson Kelly's value was insane. But I definitely think it took a hit, albeit not a very large hit, with how the Cardinals handled him last year. I think that definitely hurt his value around the league. Perceived value by the fans, not by organizations. And that's what I'm getting at, is I think fans still think that Carson Kelly's value is through the roof, where it was at this time last year. But unfortunately, it's not. It's taken a little hit. And that's what happens when you don't give a kid a chance to play at the major league level at 23, learning a new position, needing at-bats. And you just waste away on the bench. Poorly done by the Cardinals. What's everyone drinking? Don't want Kelly to foster... Yeah, I don't want Kelly... The comment was, don't want Kelly to fester on the bench all year. I agree. It's such a supreme talent wasting away on the bench. If Yadi retired this offseason, would you run with Kelly and Kisner or trade for Real Muto? I would run with Carson Kelly. If I hadn't traded Carson Kelly, then let's see what kind of year Andrew Kisner has this year. But Carson Kelly's the type of player that if Yadier Molina got hurt, he deserves every chance to earn a starting spot. This is what I'll say about Yadi. This is going to sound like blasphemy to Cardinals Nation. I apologize for this. I hated the contract extension last year. I still hate the contract extension. People want to talk about the front office being cheap. They gave a 34-year-old catcher with degrading skills a 25% pay increase to take him into his age 37 season. That's not cheap. It's bad business. And they did it for the fans. And, of course, the fans don't give a shit about that. So what I would do is I wouldn't even have brought him back this year. I would have tried to pick up his $16.5 million option for this year, let it all play out, and then extend him after the season if he deserved it. So keep that in mind. What will the Memphis rotation be? Ryan Helsley, Dakota Hudson, Austin Gomber, Matt Pierce, Daniel Ponce de Leon, and then Alex Reis with whatever the hell they're going to do there. I still don't know. We still have to get clarification on what's going to happen with Alex Reis. Who steps up the most this season? Waino, Weaver, or El Lizard Kingo? Oh, did I miss Flaherty when I did that? Jesus. Luke Weaver. I'll tell you what, the Cardinals think Luke Weaver is going to step up. Mo said that they already view him as a number 3 starter in the major leagues with a chance to be a number 2 by the end of the year. The chance to be a number 2, that's me alluding to it, but he said he has a chance to be better than a number 3 by the end of the year, so he's not a number 1. So yeah, and the other thing is, at the beginning of the year last year, the Cardinals at AA were planning on a 6-man rotation, and then John Gant got hurt, so Daniel Ponce de Leon had to move to AAA, and I think that they ran a 6-man rotation. So let me start over. Flaherty, Gomber, Helsley, Hudson, Ponce de Leon, and I keep forgetting people because I'm so stupid. And Pierce. Do you know numbers of Yadi's defensive efficiency last year? I don't know the numbers. I can only tell you, and again, this is the stupid eye test, but I watched a bunch of balls go by him. I watched his mechanics go slow. I watched balls go over his head, which I had never seen before. And again, I'm all about some stuff, but I don't buy into the defensive metrics yet. I'm not high on him. Hot take: Weaver goes hot take: Weaver goes 14-8 with the 3.55 and pitches 165 innings. I agree with that. Write that down. Tweet that out because I think you're dead on. Oh, really? So did I. That's what I'm referencing. So what are they saying? That his defensive efficiencies are bad? Because that's what it looked like last year. He looked like a guy who took a step back defensively. Man, we've had a lot of great questions. This is a good conversation. Who's the Cardinals' closer by the end of the season? I'm going to say it's Alex Colome. I'm going to say they end up trading for Colome and Archer. So there's that. I think Leon has the best. I know it's bold. That's what I'm hoping for. I think Leon has the best chance. I think the smart money is on Bud Norris and Dominic Leon. But what I want is Alex Colome. Let's see what happens. There's a chance it's Ryan Helsley. I hope not. I want Ryan Helsley to start at Memphis and get every opportunity to stay as a starting pitcher. But if you're staying within the organization, the guys who are already on the roster, I think your best chance is Dominic Leone and Bud Norris. Let's see. You know your priority. You know your priorities are fucked up when your fans can't even defend front office decisions. As someone who is a John Mozeliak sympathizer, it's hard for me to even find stuff to get really fired up about him. It's been a weird couple years for him. Under the hood, Colome is not a lockdown closer. I agree. I saw all that. I still want him in the bullpen. As long, they're not going to trade for him. Ignore what I said earlier. I'm a fucking moron. Lizard King doesn't pan out. Wayno gets injured and Flaherty shows up and isn't ready. There's a chance that happens. Colome, so Cardinals trade for Archer and Colome. It'd be great. So Colome's K and walks per 9 or whatever is kind of weird. He had a rough year last year. That's definitely a concern. What percentage do you see them getting Colome and Archer? I say 10. I'll say 20. I'll say 30% that they get one of the two, and more than likely it's Archer, if you believe the recent reports that the pursuit of Colome was smoke and mirrors. Over under 3, Norris-induced brawls this year. How about this? Yeah, the Craig Mish 25%, I like that. Over under 3 with Bud Norris-induced brawls. I'll say over because 3 of them will happen in the clubhouse and 1 of them will happen on the field, if I can include the ones in the clubhouse. Better chance. Archer this year or Machado next year? Machado next year. I know it sounds crazy. I know people think that they're not going to dish out the money for Machado. I think that's part of the reason why they're cutting a little bit of salary. And the pursuit of Giancarlo Stanton proves that they're willing to take on cash. So I'm going to say Machado. There's a lot of really good free agents on the market next year. And if it's not Machado, it's going to be Donaldson. That's what I think. Cardinals are really banking on nearly everything to go their way. I think it says STL Nasty. I could be wrong. Write that down because that's the essence of this roster. The Cardinals have a lot of things going on that if everything goes right, they're a 90, 95 win team. Everything absolutely has to go right. Yadi can't be any worse than he was last year. Wayno can't be any worse than he was last year. Pham can't take a step back. DeYoung can't take a step back. Jerko has to be more like his first half than his second half. It's a dangerous, slippery slope, and they are hoping for the best. I'm a big fan. Someone asked, how is Daniel Ponce de Leon? He's healthy. He's ready to pitch. I believe he's already down in Springfield. And, I think he has I think there's a really good chance Daniel Ponce de Leon makes a little bit of a major league impact this year. Somebody just mentioned something about the Cardinals being in a soft rebuild. They're in a position right now. I wouldn't call it a rebuild. They're in a position where they can do whatever they need to midway through the season if they choose to. If they were in a rebuild, a soft rebuild, they definitely would have traded Lance Lynn at any cost last year. I don't think that they know exactly what they're doing. I think that they're trying to stay competitive. You hear Bill DeWitt III and Bill DeWitt II, Bill DeWitt Jr., John Mozeliak and Mike Gersh. You hear all of those guys talk about how the payroll being in the 9 to 11% rank, spending being, or the 9 to 11 rank amongst organizations, spending being 9 to 11 rank in organizations, income being, that's what they care about. They care about being inside of that. They care about proportionate profit margins to product. So that's where they're at. So I think they are in what might be considered a soft rebuild, but I don't think it's necessarily a rebuild. I just think that they're in a position where they're not comfortable overspending because they know how delicate of a line they're walking. Again, Lagunita, Sakitumi, and Booker's Unfiltered, Uncut. This stuff's incredible. It's so strong. It's like 70% alcohol. Should the home team have batting practice second? I don't have any feelings about that at all. There's going to be some solid free agents without teams that start season, yes or no? Yes. Yeah, there's, without a doubt, you would need 10 free agents to go in between now and the start of the season, and that's not going to... Hold on, somebody just stopped me in my tracks. Holy Schilt just asked, 5 Luis Roberts or 1 Mike Trout? I'll take 5 Luis Roberts. I want that kid catcher. I want to know what kind of a catcher he is. Realistically, Moustakas, and we're done. I'm going to take a step back, Graham. I agree with whoever said Moustakas isn't very much of an upgrade over Jerko. So I'm not interested in Moustakas. Somebody asked $460 for Moustakas. Again, I don't view Moustakas as an upgrade over the Jerko, Jose Martinez, Matt Carpenter, first, third platoon. Wish home teams did batting practice second. You know what? I agree with that. Let me take a step back. Yeah, the one thing about Moose is that he is a left-hander in a, don't cut your wrist. I'll fucking do it! No, the one good thing about Moose is that he is left-handed. And the lineup is short on left-handed hitters. So, there's that. Machado, Archer, and a closer make the Cards the best team in the league. It makes them the deepest team in the league, depending on what they have to trade. I definitely would still like for them to sign Greg Holland if they could get him on a 1 or 2 year deal. Is it just me, or does it seem like the NL Central only ones making moves this year? They've definitely made the majority of the high-impact, newsworthy moves. But keep in mind, the Braves and the Dodgers have done some weird things. Matt Kemp. The Yankees traded for Giancarlo Stanton. There's been some moves. It's just that it's been so slow and so spread out that it's hard to keep track. Lately, it seems like it's only 3 teams. And then, of course, the Giants have made a ton of moves, and with McCutchen. There you go. That's because the Central is one of the only divisions that have multiple contenders. That's a great point, too. And also multiple teams that are kind of tanking. Patrick Corbin. And then the next person says Angels, which is funny because Patrick Corbin was initially drafted by the Angels. Kind of a funny thing there. I love Patrick Corbin. I just don't see Arizona trading anyone that doesn't make a lot of money. So I could see him flipping Greinke if it meant that they got something in return. I could see them flipping Yasmani Thomas, maybe even A.J. Pollock if things got weird. I don't think they would, but if it meant that they could get salary relief. But he doesn't make enough money for it to make it. Who's the odd man out in the bullpen if Cards sign Holland? So with Bud Norris, that means that Ryan Sheriff goes to AAA. For me, I'd send John Brebbia down there. The thing is, Matt Bowman's earned it. He's got a little bit more tenure. Tui can't go down, or else if Tui gets optioned out, someone else can claim him. So it won't be Tui. I would send John Brebbia because I don't believe that he has sustainable success. Angels are trying to give Trout a team, but the Pujols contract and Astros, no way. I'm sorry, I didn't get that one. Ty Kelly for Cardinals Hall of Fame. Our very own STL Cup of Joe at Birds on the Black love Ty Kelly. And I remember arguing with him about Ty Kelly. I thought Aledmys Diaz was going to make an impact that year. It took Aledmys an entire year. But he was really pulling for Ty Kelly. As a matter of fact, there's a little bit of Ty Kelly and Max Schrock, but only as a second baseman. Somebody just said something about checking on Jerry Dipoto. Please, dear God, somebody check on Jerry Dipoto. I miss him. I need him in the news. I need him in the news every day. Come back. Help me, Jerry Dipoto. You're my only hope. Somebody said today was Eric Fryer. Eric Fryer retired. I say what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour a little bit out for our dead homie Eric Fryer. Boom, poured some out for our dead homie Eric Fryer right on my table. I don't care. Who cares? No Moustakas. Then we're done on the free agent market. Yeah, maybe Graham. More than likely. We ripped him off for O'Neal. We did rip him off for O'Neal. Sorry, Marco. It was nice for you to stick around. He was saying that the Angels are trying to build a team behind Trout, but Pujols' contract is awful. Isn't Ty Kelly with the Mets? He did. Ty Kelly just signed a minor league contract with the Mets. Pujols' contract is awful. But it's not Pujols' contract that's stopping the Angels from signing free agents. It's the luxury tax threshold. The contract's bad, but the threshold is what stops them from signing prospects. And they've been able to build a pretty solid team around Mike Trout. They're pitching shit. And that's been the issue. They've ripped us off for Leak, said no until he performed in Seattle. Yeah, exactly. The Leak trade, the kid that they got, Raider Ascension, he's not anything. The Cardinals got salary relief from Mike Leake, and you know what? They needed to do it. Mike Leake's a perfectly serviceable, average, valued Major League starting pitcher, but he just wasn't going to cut it on this Cardinals team. The Cardinals need something a little bit more dynamic. They still need something a little bit more dynamic. Oh, that's strong. God, it's strong. The thing about the strong bourbons is that it stops you from drinking a lot of bourbon a lot. If Mike Leake has under a 4 ERA the next year, I'm going to be pissed. Why, though? You could say the Cardinals traded Leake for O'Neal. Yeah, maybe that's the way to look at it. Marco Gonzalez and Mike Leake for salary relief and Tyler O'Neill. I'll take that. Lowest ERA in 9 starts last season. What are you sipping on? Oh, so again, he did. First off, before we get to the beer, Alex Reis did lose some weight. They said he turned it in from bad weight to good weight, so that's good. Mike Leake was a Cy Young candidate early in the year. Yeah, for the first month he was. So what we're sipping on is a Sakitumi by Lagunitas. It's an ale made with sake yeast. It's pretty good, surprisingly good. It's 9% alcohol, too. I only drink high alcohol stuff because I'm a big boy. It's not a sour, it's just an ale. It's a little sour. It tastes a little bit like a pale ale, a little bit like a sake. It's got a really complex, interesting flavor. It's worth picking up. And then this, again, is Booker's bourbon. It's unfiltered, uncut. It's about 67, 64% alcohol. And it is super good. It's super complex. It tastes better if you put just a little dab of water in it. I would highly recommend it. It's also really expensive. Do you like Neil Walker, Kyle? I do like Neil Walker. He's a fine player. You know, I liked him a lot more a couple years back. He's a good role player if you have a strong lineup around him. You know, he isn't any worse as a second baseman than David Eckstein was as a shortstop. You put a couple guys around him, and you're in good shape. What's my favorite Winter Olympic sport? I loved hockey when the NHLers were involved. But other than that motherfucking luge where the people go 9,000 miles an hour down a goddamn icy hill and then crash into crazy shit and fly off the goddamn course, anyone who doesn't like that's out of their fucking mind. It's the MMA of one-man sports. Ski jumping is lit as fuck. You're not kidding. Any of that big air shit is incredible to me, man. Now I wish I had it on. I haven't watched any of the Winter Olympics. That's not a political statement. That's just I've been working around the clock for the last week, and I haven't been able to really sit down and enjoy some ski jumping. Snowboarding Big Air is a new event this year. I used to love playing that in like that N64 the snowboarding game. What was it, 1080 or whatever? I used to love it. Good. That Big Air is for real, man. 1080. That Big Air is That's for real, man. That's dangerous stuff. Those people are 1 million feet in the air. People don't know that. It's an actual measurable number. They're 1 million feet in the air and they crash. They do a bunch of turns and shit too. What does a Jerko career year look like? 260, 330, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, 20 doubles, 880 slug. Fucking love the game. 1080 was a great game, man. Those N64 games were all fucking great, man. Perfect Dark was great. GoldenEye was great. 1080 was great. The baseball games were great. The N64 is the best system ever. People talk about that game disc or whatever. Yeah, Wave Runner. What a tough game that was. People talk about that GameCube being the best. They can suck my big black dick. Let's see. Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. I don't remember that. Mario Tennis. I remember that. I'd say 70 to 80s for Jerko. Yes. Look at this. We're getting a bunch of hot video game takes. This is what I love. This is what I've been. I'm not drunk, believe it or not. I'm just an asshole. Sorry, Graham. I'm just a really, really stupid asshole. Super Smash Brothers. A lot of people don't realize that the first Super Smash Brothers game was on N64. Graham, your problem is you're like 11 years old. You just don't remember the N64, brother. Let's see. Friggin' cards. You said 880 slug. Oh, not slug. OPS. I'm sorry about that. Someone say Blades of Steel. Great game for the regular Nintendo system. That thing was incredible too. Blades of Steel. The best hockey fighting I've ever seen in my life. The SNES Zelda, the greatest game ever. I was too young when that came out. That was too much for me. I couldn't figure it out. Like I said, I'm really stupid. Graham will be the first one to tell you. If Cards were here, he'd tell you too. Will Fam repeat? What was Fam's WRC last year? I bet his WRC is almost exactly the same this year as next year. Well, man, 148. What a great season he had. By the way, I bought MLB The Show, and it's impossible to not hit a home run with Tommy Pham. He's incredible. I'll say that he won't repeat. You're looking at a 135 to 140 WRC plus out of Tommy Pham this year. Is Gomber getting any love as a lefty reliever? I hope not, because I want him to start. He's good enough to start. His repertoire is good enough to start. His command is good enough to start. His deception is good enough to start. He's mentally strong enough to be a starter. So maybe it happens in the bullpen this year. I don't want it to happen. I want to see him in the starting rotation at some point if someone gets hurt. Again, he's way down the line. You're talking about Alex Reis, Jack Flaherty, Ryan Helsley, who are all ahead of him more than likely. Maybe even John Gant because of the 40-man spot, whether you agree with it or not. I want him in the rotation. You have anything cooking for spring training with minor leaguers? Hey, friggin' Cards. It's almost like you're on the payroll. The Shredder at Fam is the number 2 center fielder behind Trout in baseball. You're right. So, we're still waiting on the press pass stuff, but I will be in spring training, hopefully with a press pass, between March 1st and March 5th, cranking the great shit out for you guys if we can get the press pass. If not, I'll try to figure something out. But I want to get video of these kids pitching. I want to get video of the games going on in the backfields for you to see. I want to do interviews with players. I want to give you the best coverage that you're going to find. So hopefully that happens. What's the over-under on Cardinals controversies this year? Put the number at 3. Preston Wilson at Trout is number 3. Laugh my ass off. Who in the hell did he have as in 2 people ahead? Hold Bowtie accountable while you're down there. I will. I'll find the nicest French restaurant on the ocean side and tell Mozeliak that he's wrong. Blackman and Springer, man, you talk about prisoner of the moment. So if I had heard Preston Wilson say that Blackman and Springer were ahead of Mike Trout, right now, I immediately dismiss his opinion going forward. Until he's proven right, his opinion needs to be dismissed. Tommy Pham just took gold in freestyle kickboxing. I wouldn't doubt it. He's so fast you wouldn't even be able to see his legs smoke you in the top of the head. Ooh, hey, we're on an hour here. Wow, we're really kicking it out. It's 9 o'clock. This is a blast. You guys are bringing great questions. I love all this talk about video games and shit. When will Matheny's last day as a Cardinal manager be? Whatever the last day of the 2019 season is. That's right. You're going to have to wait another full fucking season for the end of Mike Matheny. In the middle part of the year at the Redbird Daily, we did a roundtable. I thought at the mid part of this season he'd be gone, but the Cardinals aren't going to let that happen. I thought about the gold medal for Pham and didn't immediately reject it. What will Grichuk do with a full year starting in Toronto? Does my knee grow? My dick grows, my knee doesn't. What will Randall Grichuk do with a full season in Toronto? I don't know if we can necessarily say that Randall Grichuk will have a full season in Toronto. He has a chance to have a full season in Toronto, but he hasn't proven it yet. If he has a full season, that's my point. You never know. Grichuk might get benched. Yeah, so say that he has... If you want to ask me what Grichuk's ceiling is, it's exactly what the ceiling of Jed Jerko is. Yeah. So someone just said appreciate the scope. Hope they're more regular. I'm going to try to do one once a week. It might be once every 2 weeks. And hopefully we give you more notice than we did tonight where we just gave you a couple hours. I would like to tell you guys midday, hey, tonight I'm periscoping so that we can get it going. Big League Chew or Fun Dip? What a great question, man. Grape Big League Chew should be its own goddamn food group. I love Fun Dip. I'll snort the shit out of that. I'm not even kidding. I coach a Little League baseball team, and I buy my kids Fun Dip and Big League Chew and rope licorice. But if I had to choose in between Grape Big League Chew or that blue raspberry Fun Dip to snort, it'd be Grape Big League Chew. I would eat Grape Big League Chew over drinking alcohol. I mean that. Domino's or Pizza Hut? In St. Louis, we have so many amazing pizza places that it's neither. And I'm not talking about Emo's. I'm talking about Pie Pizza. I'm talking about Bono's. I'm talking about, there are just countless great pizza places. Best baseball movie of all time? Major League. I love the first Major League. Favorite AL team? I love the Seattle Mariners. I love the Houston Astros. I love the Seattle Mariners. The Chicago White Sox who bought my fandom. I like a lot of American League teams. I'm also one of these fans who isn't 100% opposed to the DH in the National League. I'm not on board with it, but I'm not opposed to it. I'll tell you what. Oh, it's Major League on the MLB Network. What a great movie. They got to censor all that shit out. What do you think of Green from the Grichuk trade? I love Connor Green. I wasn't so sold on Connor Green when they made the trade initially, but that weekend after they made the trade, I went and I watched 3 of his starts, and I've watched 3 additional starts from 2017 since then. And this is what I want out of him. I want him in the bullpen for good. I want him throwing his curveball 35% of the time, his changeup an additional 35% of the time, and his fastball the other percent of the time, 30% of the time. Mitch Haniger will rake. I love Mitch Haniger. I think that might actually have been a message from one of the guys in my fantasy baseball league. But Mitch Haniger. So again, if you take one thing from this Periscope, it's that I'm an asshole who drinks too much and would eat Grape Big League Chew over anything on earth. Hey, Two Thumbs Blues. Hey, welcome to the chat. I forgot to tell you earlier. It was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. It won't happen again. Next time we do this, we'll do our thing. Speaking of the White Sox, he would not make the Big League Club because of Cardinals. The question was, would Luis Robert make the Big League Club in 2018, I believe it was, with the Cardinals? The answer is no. The Cardinals would take their time with him. Realistically, it'd be 2019 at some point. Sleeper for fantasy baseball this season. I have not done any work on fantasy baseball. One of the fine people on Twitter, Mo's Algorithm, I've been trying to, whenever I get a free second again, I've been working around the clock. I don't watch NBA. Somebody just asked, do you watch NBA? I don't watch NBA. I'm going to try to get into it. I've been working around the clock, so I haven't been able to help him, but I've been trying to find deep minor league sleepers for him, and I just haven't had time. Hopefully we'll get it, but I know in my league, and I'm sure some of the guys are watching, I'm going to draft Alex Bregman. He's not going to be one of my keepers, but to me, Alex Bregman has to be one of the first 3Bs off the board like that. Robbie Ray's gotten a bunch of attention now. He's probably not a sleeper. I don't know. I wish I could give you an answer on that. I wish I had time to dig in, but things have just been too busy. All right, fellas. Well, we're at the 1 hour and 4 minute mark. We've had some great questions. We've had some great repartee. And that's the other thing about Bregman, right? I think Lucas Giolito might have a big year. The thing about Lucas Giolito to remember that people don't realize, that people don't know, Giolito was a top prospect. And the Nationals asked him to change his mechanics, and that's when he started struggling. That's when he started having a lot of problems locating and throwing stuff repeatably. That's when his prospect stock started to drop. The White Sox traded for him. They worked with him. They found a middle ground between what he did and what the Nationals asked him to do, and he regained some of his velocity, his movement, his stuff, his location. So I think Lucas Giolito is a great choice for a sleeper, to whoever said that. Again, we're at 1:05. Anyone else have any questions before we shut this son of a bitch down? I can't say it enough. I love doing this with you guys. You guys are incredible. Oh, Andres Fanador. Hey, thank you again, Tom Thumbs Blues. Hopefully next time around, I'll get out there at least a couple hours beforehand. We'll drop it. And we'll let you know that there's another Periscope's coming. But we've had an hour and 5 minutes of hey, you're welcome. Are you joining Mo's? I am not joining Mo's Algorithms League. He had already had like 30 people before I even saw the tweet. That would be a great league. I wish I could be a part of it. I love these as well. You guys ask the best questions. We talk about the best shit. From now on, I have a homework assignment for everyone. I'm going to Tyler Durden this shit. My homework assignment for you is, if we do another one of these next week, we'll say next Wednesday, we'll plan on next Wednesday. I want you to get yourself an adult beverage that you're proud of, that you want to talk about, and I want you to find a fantasy sleeper for me. So do a little bit of your homework. We'll plan on doing another Periscope in between Wednesday and Friday of next week, more than likely Wednesday. And that's it, guys. Again, this is so much fun. I can't tell you how much I love doing this. Real fast before I get too far out, what's been going on at Birds on the Black? I'm so proud. First homework assignment I've never been excited about. You know what? That's how I roll. This homework assignment is I want you to get a beer that you want to talk about or you want someone else to discover, and find a fantasy sleeper. The next one will be I want you to find an alcohol, a spirit, just to give you a little peek. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, one step at a time, okay? This one step at a time, we smooth into this stuff, right? I'm just derailed. I'm just a derailed human being is what I am. Again, you too, man. You have a great night. So, again, everything that we're doing at Birds on the Black is great. Be cautious. Oh, man, Evan Mendoza. Now I want to sit here and talk about Evan Mendoza for 100 hours. So Colin and I are going to record a podcast this week that should drop on Friday, and we'll talk about Evan Mendoza. But there are 1,000 reasons to be excited about Evan Mendoza. I'll tell you this, too. And I told Cards Gifts this earlier in N-Chill. I'm so proud of that write-up for Evan Mendoza. I'm so proud of the work that both myself and Colin Gardner are doing over at the Redbird Daily with this top 30 prospects list. I know for a fact, just from doing a little reading over the weekend, that what we're giving you is, number one, the most accurate information you're going to find online for free. And I say for free because the guys at the Cardinal Nation, Derek Shore and Brian Walton, do it better than I could ever imagine. Because the intro is great. Thank you very much. Better than I could ever imagine. But it's a pay service. What we're doing is better than any of it. And it's more accurate, and you're not going to get it anywhere else. Not even close the way that we're bringing it to you. I'm proud of it. I'm usually the self-deprecating type. I hate the work that I write. I think it's pretty shitty. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes. I can't even go back and edit it sometimes. It hurts so much. But I went back and read that Mendoza article, and I was so proud of myself. You're getting the highest quality you're going to find. So Colin and I, we're going to keep bringing it to you like super. Bruh, if you put another man's name on your back, he gets to fuck you. I'd let Ray Lankford fuck me. I'm not gay by any means, but I'm going to be honest with you. If Ray Lankford wants to stick a finger or a tongue or his Mandingo inside of me, I'm going to let him. You want to know why? Because he's Ray motherfucking Lankford, and he deserves your Hall of Fame vote. Not just because of his dick, but the other things too, I guess. No, because he's he's the most underrated Cardinal of all time. He's the best Cardinal center fielder of my generation, not named Jim Edmonds. He's better than Willie McGee was, and the generation from the 80s hates to hear it. They can suck it. Ray Lankford's the best, man. And, you say that, but I'll tell you what. I have 3 uniforms. That's all I have. I have Ray Lankford, Alex Bregman, and Chris Shelton. Your analysis is great. Personality goes a long way. So great to get the insight. Thank you very much, man. That means the absolute most to me. Felix Jose or Mark Whitten. Hard-hitting Mark Whitten, brother. Hard-hitting Mark Whitten. Any dude who hits 4 home runs in a game ends up getting my vote in any contest, unless it's against Ray Lankford. All right, so, again, stay tuned to Birds on the Black. They've been doing incredible stuff. Alex Christofoli with his little shorts have been incredible. Cards. Bruno, his rundown of the 2017 season, each one of his iterations were better than the other. Part 1 was great. Part 2 was monumental. And Part 3 was the best read you're ever going to read about an off-season roundup. And then STL Cup of Joe with his Leon breakdown. He's working on something with Michael Walker right now that I cannot wait to read. So all I'm saying is, along with the GIF works of Cardinals GIF and N-Chill, what we have going on over at Birds on the Black right now is epic stuff. It's monumental. Our top 30 prospect countdown every other day. And besides that, it's not even it's somebody says Walker rebound year. I think it's my boy Two Thumbs. It's not even a rebound year. It's a building year off of the strong year he had last year, because he had a strong year. I'm bullish on Walker. STL Cup of Joe's bullish on Walker, and he's going to show you why. But again, that's all that I have, guys. We went at this for an hour and 10 minutes. I can't say it enough. You're incredible. Stay tuned at Birds on the Black for what we're doing. I'll have my write-up for Johan Oviedo tomorrow and every other day from here on out until we get to prospect number 1. Pitchers and catchers report tomorrow, which should be a national holiday more so than that stupid fucking Super Bowl. And that's all I have. So for myself, thank you for joining me for Prospects After Dark. And for everybody at Birds on the Black, happy hunting.